Welcome to Soft Bad Monkey, a safe space for savages. This podcast is comedy. We don't discriminate. We don't care about your race, religion, sexual orientation, or gender identity. We make fun of everyone equally. We are veterans, offensive by nature, so if there's kids in the car, turn us off. Seriously, I'll wait. We've evolved. It's still JD and Uncle Steve, but now we have Paulie. As for Jay, he's fluffing on man porn. We talk like we are in the team room, platoon space, or whatever you call it. We're meat eaters and knuckle draggers, so put on your fucking helmet because we're coming in hot. We're having Mama Lee on.
All right, I'll allow it.
Mama Lee is Marc Lee's mom. Marc Lee was the first SEAL killed in action in Iraq. He was killed August 2nd, 2006. Second time he stood up directly in the line of fire to draw fire away from the guys dealing with wounded.
Oh, man.
And it was fatal. And after that, obviously, she started the America's Mighty Warriors Foundation and started giving back. She used the last letter that Mark wrote home as motivation to reach out to a bunch of people and help a bunch of people dealing with war, whether it's the vets, whether it's the wives, it's whether whomever. And she's making a huge positive impact in the community and worldwide. So with that, Paulie, if you could do the honors, please.
Absolutely.
And Jason, you and I will do our dance moves.
Okay, I'm ready.
You ready? You prepared?
Limber. I must limber up.
I limbered up. Here we go. Do we have her? I see her. Mama Lee, how are you?
I'm great. How are you guys doing?
Excellent, thank you
Doing
very much.
great.
And
Good.
you met Jason, obviously. Jason Delgado, my partner. This is Mama Lee. And then you can see Paulie there in the front of the screen, Paulie Rivera.
Hi, Mama Lee.
And
Hey guys.
And I did a real brief intro about you and about the America's Mighty Warriors Foundation. And I would like to start the interview with the first thing. There's no way that ourselves or our great nation will be able to thank you enough for the sacrifice that you've made. And only thing that I can convey to you is just how grateful we are. And I hope you realize that every second of every day. And
Yes.
I explained to the guys earlier, and I explained to you that while we're doing the show, it's possible that I could not be able to speak, or I could start crying when it goes on. And I'm not saying that as an apologist or anything of that nature at all. I'm saying it because that's just the reality of what we're dealing with. So, and one other thing, I say fuck a lot. So I'm going to do my absolute best to censor myself, but you have a long experience with with SEALs and the special operations community and veterans of all sorts. So I just wanted to throw that out there. So
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, I've been around a lot of team guys, but I do appreciate your attempt to do that.
right. Well, Mama Lee and I have had a few conversations, and so we're semi familiar with each other. So she knows that I'm prone to Tourette's. so we'll be able to.
Is that what that is?
I don't know.
It's Tourette's.
It might be Tourette's, or it could
All
be.
right, I'll let it play.
It could be any number of things. It could be a defense mechanism. It depends if you're talking to my shrink or my brothers or whomever you're speaking with. So we mentioned briefly about Mark being the first SEAL killed in action, August 2nd, 2006. And after that, you formed the America's Mighty Warriors Foundation. So with the America's Mighty Warriors Foundation, you have been able to reach out and help a ton of people and do a bunch of great stuff. So you want to tell us about your organization?
Sure. It wasn't like one day I woke up and decided I was going to start an organization. It just kind of happened, after Mark died and we started to go through that grieving process. And we had, support there immediately after Mark died. I had 5 team guys in my home that week. We had support up to the funeral. Mark's teammates were still all deployed. And, through the years, that's my family. That's my support now. But, in the beginning, once the funeral was over and we started going back to our lives and everybody else did go back to their lives, then became the real work of the grieving process. And there was not another Gold Star mom that I could pick up the phone and call with. There wasn't a Gold Star mom at the funeral to say, hey, it's going to be the toughest thing you ever went through in your life, but you can make it. You can survive. You'll get through this. And I'm not one to have a pity party and feel sorry for myself. And, as I'm standing there going, where's the help? Where's the support? And it was like, okay, well, I can't do anything for myself, but I can make sure nobody else has to go through this alone. And unfortunately, I had a chance to put that into effect not too long after Mark died. About 7 weeks after we lost Mark, we lost Mike Mansour, who was one of Mark's teammates on his sister platoon on Delta Platoon. And Mikey fell on a grenade to save his teammates and was awarded the Medal of Honor for his heroic actions. But I knew when I got the news, my wound is still fresh. It's just barely starting to heal. But I knew I needed to be there for that family. I didn't know what I was going to do. I just knew I needed to be there. And I'll tell you, other than the day Mark died, that might have been one of the next tough ones to go back. We were in the same hotel. They put them up in the same hotel where we just stayed for Mark's funeral. Same black SUVs came and picked them up. He was actually same caskets that the guys were in, both up at Fort Rosecrans. And we were there waiting. The command, had spoke to me earlier and talked with me. And, as I'm watching his family go through, knowing what they're going through and how tough this is for them, the Admiral came up to me and he said, we want you in the vehicle with the family. I'm like, oh, no. This is not about me. This is not about Mark. I'm here to support that family. And they said, exactly. That's why we want you in that vehicle. And I kind of went, oh, okay, that makes sense. And then I would just happen to be in Washington, D.C. when we've had another one of our SEALs brought in with his face blown off or his legs blown off. And, God's equipped me to be able to encourage and to help people. And that's a really tough thing to do, to go visit in a hospital and not freak out when you see someone there, missing body parts. And, it's a unique skill set, that I have been given. I don't know that that's always one you want to volunteer to get. But after a while, I could see that this was my new mission in life. Mark's amazing last letter home talks about doing more random acts of kindness. He said, when's the last time you paid for a stranger's cup of coffee or meal or tank of gas? So to honor Mark, early on, I do those things. If I saw one of you guys out there and you had something on that, gave me a clue you were in the military or had been in the military, I'd go up and buy your coffee or buy your meal or buy your tank of gas. And oftentimes you guys' response to me would be like, no, I'm good, thanks. I'm like, oh, no. My son was the first SEAL that was killed in Iraq, and he challenged me to do this. So I'm honoring him by doing this, and I'm getting to say thank you to those who pay the price for my freedom. And so those things just kind of happened. And then about 2 years after that, I realized, okay, this is my new mission in life, and I don't have the funding to be able to support this on my own. So that's when we officially started the foundation. And Mark's name, the meaning of the name Mark means mighty warrior. And that kid definitely lived up to his name. But it's not just about Mark. It's about every man and woman who's served. It's about every family member who's lost a loved one. And that's why the name of our foundation is America's Mighty Warriors.
I love it. So something that stirred up in me is just a realization that to this point, it hasn't dawned on me that I go about saying things as far similar to like warriors of our generation learn things the hard way. And then we had to reformulate TTPs and give it, pass it down to the younger generation so that they would be much more successful than us, leading out, because there was such a huge gap between warriors and conflicts that we didn't have those mentors, I guess you can say, to kind of guide us through what we were going through, both in within the literal meat grinder, and then subsequently all the psychological, there on after. So we learned things the hard way, and it's the older guys that are extending the hand now, saying, but you guys, you just made me realize that that's also on the front at home. Like, you were one of the first parents to really feel that within that whole span between 2003 and 2006. We're only talking about 3 short years where the first of everything was happening to us, and even back at home. And so, like us as warriors, learning these lessons and passing them down, because we take it upon ourselves to, pass it down to the younger generations that's completing the cycle. I feel like you took on your job, and you know what they say, God gives the toughest jobs to his strongest warriors. And I feel like you realized that right then and there, at that funeral. You said, oh, this is me. This is what I got to do.
Right. And for me to feel sorry for myself wouldn't bring Mark back. It physically made me sick. Nobody stinking want to be around me. And as I said, that's not how God wired me. So if I can be out there supporting those who paid the price for the freedoms I enjoy every day, support, those who are currently serving, those who have served, other family members, and that was one of the first programs after the Random Acts of Kindness, in response to Mark's letter, was we started doing retreats in Texas. Beautiful facility, 1,000-acre ranch. It's a youth camp, so the housing is a bunk style sleeping arrangement. So each cabin has 15 different bunks in there, but it's got 3 swimming pools, zip line, kayaking, canoeing, paddleboarding. One time I told somebody waterboarding. I'm like, no, I'm sorry, paddleboarding. But if you bring the terrace there, I got no problem waterboarding them.
No, but it's not waterboarding if you use diesel.
Oh, okay. Well, I would. To me,
it's a loophole.
What those savages do to people, I'm sorry. I'm a very merciful person, but when it comes to stuff like that,
play ball.
You can use diesel, water, Coca-Cola, whatever. They got, they deserve what's coming to them. But and I think of, Chris Kyle. He was one of Mark's teammates, and he became, like a son to me. He and I were super close. And in his book, he called, the enemy savages. And I think people have no clue, unless, you've been in combat, if you've been over there and faced that, to see the depth of the savagery that does exist over there. I was blessed to go to Iraq twice. I was the first Gold Star mom in history to be in the combat zone where their child died. And I went on patrol with the 1st and the 4th Cav 3 different times. I wasn't being fired on while we were out there, but it was amazing.
Tell us about when you landed, though, on your first trip. You landed on tell us that story.
It definitely was an experience. Now, my background is aerospace science. I was going to college to be a pilot. Unfortunately, fell and injured my back and couldn't pass my first class medical anymore, so I had to give that up as a career. But, I was 2.5 years through my degree, so I had a pretty good knowledge. I flew the little planes. And I know how they crash, and I know what a stall and a spin is. And typically, if your airplane's doing this going down, it's not a good sign. And so we had flown into Ali Al Salim in Kuwait and had been there while we were waiting for all of our processing paperwork to go through. And then we hopped on a C-130, had our gear and hopped on that C-130. Nobody briefed us ahead of time. We're on there with all this military. And I've often wondered, what do these guys think when they see, who's that lady? What's she doing here? Of course, I did go under the cover of an embedded reporter. So, if they just told them I was an embedded reporter. But as we got ready to come into BIOP there in Baghdad and land at the airport where the base was at, I can get motion sickness. I've learned the trick that if you're flying a plane, you watch for that horizon, you stay focused on something that's not moving, I'm usually okay. But in this back of the C-130, there's no windows you can look at and focus on a horizon. It's nighttime that we're coming in, so it's dark outside. There's one little window up towards the front. And I'm sitting there going, oh my gosh, I'm going to get sick. This is going to be so embarrassing. And I'm telling myself, I'm not going to get sick. I'm not going to get sick. I'm fine. I'm not going to get sick. I'm not going to get sick. And we got not too far, and I could see a little bit of lights out the horizon. So I knew, okay, we're getting closer, we're getting closer. But man, and they do that, they change up the patterns for their landing. So they, the enemy can't shoot the planes down as they're coming in, and landing there. But I got out of the plane and I hear these explosions going on. I'm like, okay, this is it. I'm in the combat zone. I knew this was a possibility. And, I always told people, I won't say I was like Hillary Clinton that said, I got off the plane and I was being fired on as we were running in there. But again, nobody briefed us. I learned later that it was the controlled detonations at the edge of the airfield that they were blowing up from things that they, had captured in missions earlier. But, that makes a pretty good pop there and a boom.
Yeah, well, that coupled.
Well, she could feel the concussion on her face.
Yeah, that coupled with, the not knowing what you're getting into, knowing exactly where you're going. So logically, I am flying into a war zone. So what your mind must have been running 1,000,000 miles an hour, and then you hear boom, boom, Yeah.
Right. The reality set in a little bit. I mean, obviously, I knew going in there, I was going into a war zone. I had cleared it well with Marc's teammates. I said, I don't have a death wish. It's not like I'm going over here, saying, oh, the pain's too much, I want to die. Somebody, take me out where my son went. I was going over there to love on our troops and support them on behalf of all the other moms and, family members that couldn't get over there. We had tons of care packages we were taking and Christmas stockings. And so it was an amazing trip. But yeah, that reality, when you get in there and you hear those, we did have, I was stationed at Fob Falcon, and outside of the Dora neighborhoods was where we went on patrol, and it was pretty quiet at that point. But I did get a chance to fly over to Ramadi, and so I talked to Marc's teammates and said, hey, is this a good plan? What do you guys think? And they said, Mom Lee, I think you're good, but just make sure any transportation when you're going from base to base, you take planes. Don't do it on the ground. I'm like, awesome. Okay, got it. And of course, I'd been up, 36 hours when we finally landed. We took off from New York, and between the, commercial flight, and there was a little confusion. We got to Kuwait. We didn't have the Army wasn't there to pick us up until the next morning. But, as we got there and were stationed at Fob Falcon, again, went out on patrol. At least they briefed us that day before we went out, and they explained what was going on, showed us some pictures of what it was like when they first got there. And it looked like a totally different place when we got there. But we did have a missile one night that went over the base as well. Yeah. And man, it was like he said, I felt that pressure. And the missile wasn't in the building right next to me. It was on the other side of the base. But man, that explosion, people just don't understand. And I think, again, those are some of those things that help me as we work with you guys who are struggling with, PTS, traumatic brain injury. I mean, what you guys endure, I'd put money on every team guy, and I'm not a betting woman, but that you guys all have TBIs. And that's a lot of the, struggles that you're dealing with, coming back home. And we've seen pictures of the brains. One of the other programs that we added about 8 years ago is our Helping Heroes Heal program. And with that, we're paying for hormone and vitamin therapy, hyperbaric oxygen therapy, therapies that are actually healing your brain, not just masking the symptoms. I could probably ask you guys, what have you tried? Have you gone to the VA? You've done the exposure therapy. You've done the talk therapy, prescription drugs. 2/3 of those prescription drugs that they're giving you guys have a side effect that says may cause suicidal tendency. And we wonder why our suicide rate's so high. So if we can provide those therapies for you guys that are actually healing you, man, it's crazy to see that impact. And for me, Marc's been gone over 14 years from this earth, but that kid is still changing lives around the world in a crazy way. We've had, numerous of, his teammates and even some of the SEALs that didn't know him, that said, literally, I would not be alive today if it wasn't for you and your foundation. And I remember, one of the SEALs, we were talking on the phone, he told me that, and I said, hey, you were willing to give your life for me. This is the least I can do. And he said, stop. And I was like, ruh-roh, what did I do? And he said, you literally saved my life. I wouldn't be alive today if it wasn't for you. And I thought of Marc's final actions. He ran into the line of fire 3 times that day on August 2nd, 2006. I don't know how many other times he'd done that before, but I do know a story on that day. And 3 different times he ran into the line of fire to save his teammates. And as he said that to me, I was like, oh my gosh, Mark is still saving his teammates. You know, he's physically gone, but he's still saving his teammates. And it's been, you know, my blessing to be able to continue to do that. And, you know, there's just so many amazing stories and blessings because of it. You know, as I said, getting to go to Ramadi, Iraq, brought back some of the soil from the base of the sign at Camp Marc Lee, which was where he was stationed, and that's the base named after him. You know, got to see where he slept, where he walked. I didn't go out on patrol in Ramadi because it was still pretty bad, but, you know, one of Saddam's palaces there, the guys, when they came back after that deployment that Mark was killed, they cut out the cornerstone and brought it back. And of course, that cornerstone has Saddam's initials on it. So I'm like, take that, sucker. You know,
and your first trip to Iraq was in 2007?
2007. I went over just before Christmas 2007. I was there about 2 weeks and came back then in the beginning of 2008. But what an amazing experience. Again, part of that preparation that we go through in life that we have no idea, you know, why that is, or, you know, sometimes we go through those tragedies and trials and we're like, what the heck is this all about? And then we find out later that that's something that we can use in life, you know, just like my circumstance of losing Mark, that I could use that to encourage others who are going through that very same thing. I've been a widow for 26 years, lost my husband. So I understand the spouse side. I understand the parent side. You know, my husband took his life, so I understand the suicide issue. Those are not life experiences you want to go through, but, you know, when we go through that, those can be used then to encourage others and help others and give them that support. But when I was at Camp Marc Lee, I got to go up, and it's right there on the Euphrates River, and it was a full moon that night, and it was just so, that night happened to be peaceful and quiet. But I stood up there, and they said that's where Mark would go often just to reflect and think, and I could. It was like I could feel him there with me, you know, that night looking out. And Iraq's not a beautiful country. You know, it's in that same parallel. I live in Phoenix, so some of that, you know, looks very similar to the drier parts of Arizona and the sandy deserts. But that night, the moonlit with the Euphrates and the palm trees right in there, you know, it was just a really peaceful time to kind of be in Mark's brain and look and see what he saw and, you know, feel a little closer to him towards the end of his life, you know, where he would have been. But to get a lay of the land, to know what it was like there. You know, I've often wondered, it was SEAL Team 1 that was there when I went to Camp Marc Lee. And it was really, you know, kind of strange to me when they finally called and they said, you know, we've got a team that's coming to get you, because back then things were bad. So the teams were only flying at night missions, you know, if you were going in a helicopter. So they said, we'll pick you up, you know, I think it was about 9:30 at night, and then we'll have you back at 5 o'clock in the morning. Be at the airfield there on Fob Falcon, and we'll pick you up. So I had 2 other people with me when we got there, told them, said, we're flying out. And they're like, what's your names? And said, we don't have you on a roster. We just have, you know, 3 people that are being transported on a special mission. I'm like, that'd be us. And because, you know, the SEALs, they don't want to put them in danger. So they don't put their names on a list. They don't put their flight patterns on there. And we flew from, as I recall, from Fob Falcon to Biop. Then we changed, I think we changed the crew at Biop, flew from there to the green zone. Now, these aren't large distances that we're flying. I don't know the exact mileage distance, but it wasn't very far, you know, kind of up and down and up and down. So then we flew from Biop to the green zone. Then we changed the aircraft and the crew, and then we flew from there to Ramadi. And I said, why did they do that? And they said, for security, you know, so nobody can accidentally track down. And I was just like, wow, this is, you know, pretty crazy. But to get a glimpse inside of that. But I've often wondered what those guys, you know, when they heard Mark's mom's come into the base, you know, if they were like, what the heck is wrong with that woman? Or, wow, that's pretty awesome, pretty gutsy. But, and I kind of feel like that's what Mark was probably thinking. You know, he's like, Mom, what the heck are you doing? But that's pretty cool. So,
well, with also you've been a teacher for a long period of time. And then there was, 15 years you were, and was that was it preschool for 15 years?
Yeah, I owned a preschool and kindergarten for 15 years, and we did a normal school year program. So from
Right.
September to May, it was you were in different classes. We did do extended care, so if the parents needed childcare, but we were primarily school. And in the summertime, then we did kids camp. So each week was a different theme, but a little more childcare, for that. But yeah, I had 45 kids around me every day. Love kids.
Well, I'm just saying where that toughness comes from. A woman who can deal with that many children every day for 15 years, that's where that toughness comes from. And also to make the trip out there, that's a relatively short period of time. Mark died on the 2nd of August in 2006, and then 2007, you're right out there. What's
the process there? Who was your liaison to see to it that all this was executed? Because I could imagine, I worked for the State Department for a little while, and coordination is a nightmare between these agencies. And to get a Gold Star mother, I feel like this effort that you've obviously progressed to, this was supported
and
from the
crazy,
start. Like
high value.
Yeah, like we're talking about, must have been generals and ambassadors and involved.
Well, and not only that, imagine the ripple of morale that went through everybody out there. It's like, we got a Gold Star
I guess
going
it sounded like it made sense from the top to the bottom, and you were supported as such.
Yeah, but and
Would
then
you
in
say
a
that's
very
a fair
short
statement?
period of time.
Yeah, I'd say it was pretty fair statement. We had gone through the proper channels to get embeds in.
Mm-hmm.
I had met Donald Winters, who at the time was the Secretary of the Navy. I don't even remember, some event that he was at, gave me his card and said, if you ever need anything, call me. Well, I get people all the time that say, if you ever need anything, call me. So we'd gone through the proper channels, and they kept delaying us, and something else was wrong, and they delay. And finally, we were in New York. We just finished a big rally there, and we're supposed to fly over the next day, and we still didn't have our clearance. I'm like, okay, I don't know that I'm comfortable flying over there if we're just going to get stuck there and can't do what we want to do. I'm like, hey, I got the Secretary of the Navy's phone number. I'm going to call him. He said, if you ever need anything, call me.
Yep, that's the guy.
So I called him. But, that was back, when I'm kind of new to, what the chain of command is and who does what. But he said, call him.
Everything makes sense.
Forget all that
forget
nonsense.
it.
I got the Secretary of the Navy's cell phone number.
Yeah.
Hey,
you don't
man,
need, you don't
I
need
need
to
some
know
help.
a lot of people. You just need to know him.
Yeah, exactly.
It was an important mission I wanted to go on. But literally within 2 hours, we had our press credentials and approval to get over there.
That's outstanding.
And then while I was over there, my first trip, I had the privilege of meeting General Petraeus.
Yes.
And so he then, got to be a supporter as well. Whenever I wanted to try to do something like that, I would work through General Petraeus. I did try my second trip back. He was the one that's like, hey, get over there. We know what she does. And so that was a lot easier than to get over the second time when I went back in 2010. And then I did try to go to Afghanistan. I want to say it's been about 3 years ago. And it was General Brown that was over there. And again, he told everybody, hey, get this lady over here. She's, an awesome bonus to what we're doing. And like you said, to the morale. And they didn't have any embedded reporters any longer because we had started to, draw down. But the JAG was like, sir, you can't just get her over there. So I didn't go that time. I know my oldest son, Christopher, who served in the Marines, my second trip, he's like me, not a worrier, not a fretter. That's just not in our personalities. But he had a dream that I had gone over to Iraq and then I got killed over there. And I knew the last time I saw Mark, I had a gut feeling that he wasn't coming home. And like I said, not a worrier, not a fretter. But after he left, my son Chris and I were standing there on the lawn. I said, man, I don't feel good about this. And he said, neither do I, Mom. And, sure enough, our feelings were correct. But so when my son told me that he had this feeling that I was going to die over there, I'm like, oh, son of a gun, I don't want to put anybody in that place. But I really felt like God was saying, go, this is where I want you. And so I told him, I said, son, I really feel like God's telling me that's where I'm supposed to be, but I don't want to do that to you. So if you don't feel I'm supposed to go, I won't go. And he goes, no, I think you're supposed to go, Mom. I just think you're going to die over there. I'm like, thanks for that book.
You know, and that's
Wow.
profound. That's profound because life is just nothing but choices of what we make. And you know, if you're willing to live with the repercussions because you feel the effort outweighs that of the repercussions, and that, you know, you can't live in fear. You can't.
Yeah. And there were some issues on that second trip, you know, where I tried to get back to Camp Marc Lee and a sandstorm came in. Of course, then the SEALs didn't have control of their own helicopters. They were relying on somebody else to come get them and pick them up. And so the movement wasn't as easy, but we had a sandstorm come in and then they had a mission and I'm like, that's priority. I'm at the bottom of the list. Our troops and everybody, they got a mission. They need those planes. You get them where they're supposed to do. This is what that's about. I'm here to support them. But and finally, after that happened a couple of times, I'm like, you know, maybe that was Chris's hunch was that, you know, if I tried to push that. So I didn't push to get back to Camp Marc Lee. I already been there once, brought back some of that soil, knew what the buildings looked like, you know, knew what it smelled like over there. But so when Afghanistan, the door closed, I figured that wasn't supposed to be, you know. So, but I was willing to go over there and love on those guys again. But
So do you consider all those guys and every veteran you see like your extended family? How does that pull on your heartstrings? All of them, anything you can do to assist, you just wrap your arms around as many as possible?
pretty much, you know, I think back to before Mark died, him trying to explain the brotherhood thing to me. And I'm like, yeah, I get it. You're close to these guys. You've trained hard with them. You know, you've been in battle with them. I get that. But as close as your brother you grew up with for 28 years? And he goes, yeah, Mom, that close. And I say, well, let me remind you, I did not birth them. They cannot be your brothers. And like I said, we had 5 of them in our home that week after Mark died. And I was like, oh my gosh, they love Mark as much as we do. And they're hurting just as bad as we are. And that's when the light bulb went on for me. And that's when they started calling me Mama Lee. It was Maddie Long, who was one of Mark's close buddies, that started calling me Mama Lee. And, you know, it wasn't long. Everybody's calling me Mama Lee that was there. Now, not everybody that was there obviously weren't Charlie Platoon, because Charlie Platoon's still deployed. But, you know, his swim buddy, you know, close friends that were there. And then, you know, Charlie Platoon was calling me Mama Lee. And I was very protective of that. I'm like, nope, that's Mark's brothers. That's the only one, the Charlie Platoon boys and his close buddies. That's the only ones that, you know, that's a special relationship, and I'm protecting that. And then, you know, pretty soon I realized that people want to call me Mama Lee because it's important to their relationship. That's healing for them as well, to feel like they have that connection with a mom. A lot of them wouldn't tell their own mom these things because they're trying to protect their mom, but they want someone to talk to, someone that's going to, you know, put their arms around them and love them, but give them the kick in the butt they need if they're not doing what, you know. I've been on the phone with team guys before saying, you dump that bottle of whiskey out right now, who have, you know, alcohol problems. And they're like, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. Wait till I get sober and let me finish the bottle. I'm like, no, if you're serious, dump it out now. You know, and there's a relationship that has developed. And now I'm like, you want to call me Mama Lee? You call me Mama Lee. You know, one of my board members, who's just a few years younger than me, said he's been around at the retreats. He's volunteered at retreats. He's met, you know, and he said, this is a thing of respect. And I feel like I should call you, you know, Mama Lee. Are you okay with that? I'm like, yeah, if you want to call me Mama Lee, I realized that that's a term of endearment. And that's something, you know, special in that relationship, to be able to do that. But as you said, there probably isn't anything I wouldn't do for those who are willing to give their lives for me and the freedoms I enjoy every day. I never take that for granted.
So you discussed earlier that you didn't have no one there to kind of be your conduit, you know, through this process, the grieving process. How strong is that relationship between the Gold Star mothers now? Like, how can you verbalize that now?
Well, there's, and especially, you know, some of the first retreats that we did were just for the SEAL families, because we wanted to not mix the groups together in case media news got out. Because again, you know, Al-Qaeda, whatever the flavor of the month you want to call them, you know, the terrorists, if they found that information, out that there was a large group of Gold Star SEAL families there, we could be a target as well. So we did exclusive ones that were just for SEALs for security. So I got to know a lot of those families pretty well. They've attended the retreats. We stay in touch. Obviously, I don't have the bandwidth to be able to talk to these people all regularly, but they know that if they need support, need encouragement, I'm always just a phone call, away to be able to help them, encourage them, listen to them, understand what they're going through. Who better to encourage them than someone that's, walked ahead of them and has made it through. And I hear people all the time say, "Oh, you're a survivor." Well, in my mind, survivor is kind of like the cat, with the wire just barely hanging on. And I tell people, you don't have to just be a survivor. You can go through that and be a thriver. You can continue to make a difference, not just hang on by the skin of your teeth, and until whatever happens in your life. And, losing Mark is the toughest thing I've ever been through. As I said, I've been a widow for 26, almost 27 years, but by far losing my kid, it's the toughest thing you can go through. It's not supposed to be that way. Mark was supposed to be burying me, not me burying him. And it is the most bizarre thing to see your kid's name on a headstone or on a granite wall or in a movie or on a book. But when we have heroes who did what Mark did, and his teammates did, their stories need to be told. We need to hear that. And I know in the SEAL community, and there's got to be a balance. We do have team guys that are out there just pounding their own chest, writing the books, doing the media. Here's who I am. Here's what I did. But when there's a mission out there to share what a team did, to share what one of our fallen heroes did, we need to tell their stories. We need to keep that alive. We need to let people understand the sacrifices that are made every day for the freedoms that we enjoy.
You had you talked about the I want to say the sanctity of the term Mama Lee. And I just want to tell you that our first conversation, I'm like, "Hello, Miss Lee, this is Stephen Ralston." And the first thing out of her mouth was, "No, that's Mama Lee."
Get it right.
Yeah. And you had mentioned when we first started talking that it's been 14 years and you're just starting to come to terms with Mark's passing, and I'll never be able to understand exactly what that means and the gravity and the despair, and I'll just never be able to understand it. What I would like to ask you, and it's a difficult question, and when the individuals came to your front door that day or that evening, did how many showed up, and how did that conversation happen, and how long did it take you to accept that was a reality?
Right. And it was kind of a long process. Mark had died in the morning. And so typically in the SEAL community, we disperse, a SEAL Keiko team.
Yeah.
And so they had dispersed them to Oregon, which is where I raised my kids, but I had permanently moved to Arizona. I know Mark had called me before he deployed to make sure he had the, address where I was living down in Arizona and had put that in his paperwork. But for whatever reason, they were trying to find me up in Oregon. I still own the building up there where I had the preschool and kindergarten and where I lived. So they had knocked on the door. Well, nobody was there. And had been looking for me for about 8 hours. And finally, one of the neighbors across the street, saw them, and they'd ask a question, where did they know where I was? And they said, she doesn't even live there anymore. She lives in Arizona. So at that point, they're very concerned that I'm going to hear about this on the news. So they called the local Keiko officer here, the Navy. And of course, I live in Phoenix, so you don't have a big Navy presence here. But there is a small detachment out at Luke Air Force Base. So they sent out their Keiko officer there. So it was a Keiko officer and a chaplain. And I wasn't home. I guess I can be pretty difficult to find, but I wasn't home, and they had knocked a couple times and waited in the car, and finally saw my neighbor there and said, do you know where, Debbie is, or how we get a hold of her? And her husband had served, she was an elderly lady, but her husband had served. So she kind of knew something was wrong when she saw them asking. She said, I don't have her cell phone number, but I know how to get a hold of her son. And that was my son, Christopher, that I mentioned before, that was a Marine, and he worked down at Home Depot. So they got a hold of him, and having served, he knew. They couldn't tell him until I got there, but he knew. And he called me. Nothing to alarm me. He wasn't speaking too fast. He wasn't, screaming, yelling, crying. He's just like, hey, Mom, where are you? And I said, well, it's Wednesday night. I'm at small group. Why? And he goes, how long will it take you to get home? And I thought, well, that's kind of an odd question. And I said, I don't know, 5 minutes, 7 minutes? Why? What's up? And he said, you just need to come home. And again, I came back to that feeling when Mark left and going, oh, crap, I know what lays ahead for me. And I got in my car and told everybody there, I said, please be praying, something's not right. And I got to the main intersection by my house, and there was probably 4 fire trucks and, 3 ambulances and 3 or 4 police cars. The whole intersection was totally blocked off. I cannot tell you this day how I got through that intersection. But as I pulled up on that intersection, I'm like, oh, my house blew up. That's all that's wrong. My house blew up. And got back into my subdivision and no emergency vehicle. So I'm like, oh, I know what's going to face me when I get there. And I turned the corner, and Christopher was out pacing on the street, and I expected to see a black car, parked out front. I guess I've watched too many movies, because there was no black car. There weren't any unusual cars, just him pacing on the sidewalk. And I parked right next to the sidewalk, going the wrong direction, so I could just get out of the car on the sidewalk. And I got out. He said, Mom, the Navy's here. And I remember just falling on his shoulder, crying, no, no. Because I knew what that meant. I knew if Mark was wounded, they would get us to him. They wouldn't come to us. And so as I walked in, they'd been in the house for a while, they waited for me to get back home. And they said, we can tell by being in your home that you're a woman of faith. And you're going to need to rely on that faith for what we're about to tell you. Your son, Marc Lee's been killed in action. And as a parent, you never want to hear those words, the most devastating words that you could ever hear. And I remember just, thinking about them and, oh my gosh, how terrible that this is their job, that they have to go notify people, day after day. Back then, in Ramadi in 2006, man, the casualties that were coming out of there were, if not 5 every day, every day there were casualties. Not would they all be in Arizona, but, they could be. And just, feeling sorry for them that they had to come tell me. And I knew God's character. I knew that he was going to give me the strength to get through this. He'd got me through death before, and I knew he would do the same. But I knew this was going to be so much harder than losing Mark. And, as I said, it's not anything you would wish on your enemies to have to go through that pain, the deepest, most intense pain I've known. And I went and sat down, on the couch, and I looked out, had a long, skinny window next to the door, and I saw my friends from my small group from my Bible study that were outside, and I'm looking at them like, what the heck are you doing out there? I need you in here. And I started motioning to them, get your butts in here. And, I remember just telling them about Mark. And of course, at that point, we didn't know the whole story. We just knew he'd given his life. And I cried a lot, and we'd talk about Mark and pray a little bit, and I'd cry a little bit more. And finally, they'd stayed with me for several hours. And my oldest son, Christopher, was in Okinawa most of the time. And his wife, he met his wife in Okinawa. I told him when he went over there, please don't fall in love there. I said, you're going to get married. I'm never going to see my grandkids. You're going to live in Japan. And,
those women are hot. That's hard to do. They're hot.
Well, he said in the beginning, he said, I'm not attracted to Asian women. And sure enough, he did, after being there 6 years, fell in love with a beautiful, Japanese woman. And they live here about a mile from me. And she's a blessing. I love her to pieces, and have 5 grandkids from them. But, everybody had left, and his wife would fly her home for 6 weeks every year to be with her family. And she was actually over in Japan. My daughter-in-law, his wife, and my daughter had both lost babies the previous year at 5.5 months long in their pregnancy, which is pretty abnormal.
Wow.
And so I was concerned, as was Chris. They're both just 3 months pregnant, that the stress and shock, could cause another loss of a baby. So he chose not to tell her. And I have no idea. And some of the toughest days he's been through, how he did that, it was probably a good 7 days before she got back home, and would talk to her and not let on that anything was going on. But he said, "Hey, Mom, I'm going to stay here tonight." I'm like, "Thank you, son." He said, "I'm going to go get sleep." Well, I knew there was no way that sleep was coming to me. And as I said, I knew God's character. I knew his character hadn't changed. He was still the same God on August 2nd as he was on August 1st. And he promises to be a husband of the widow and a father of the fatherless. And I knew where my strength was going to come from. And he would be my comforter. And I went and opened my Bible. And it was just amazing where he led me in Psalms 27. And it says, "The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? When the wicked came against me to eat up my flesh, my enemies and my foes, they stumbled and they fell." And that night, we were actually celebrating my birthday at my small group. My birthday was the Wednesday before, and we hadn't gathered together. And my girlfriend gave me one of the willow tree angels that's the courage. And literally, she's standing with her arms wide open like that. And each one of them is a different character quality. And they said, "You just remind us of such a woman of courage with all you've been through in your life. And yet you still have a positive attitude and you still serve God." As I got to the end of that 27th Psalm, it said, "I would have lost hope if I had not believed I would see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. Wait on the Lord, be of good courage." And I'm like, okay, I got it, God. You gave me the courage angel at the beginning of the night. Now you're telling me courage again. I got to have courage and be strong. And I started getting phone calls from Mark's teammates over in Iraq once they knew I'd been notified, and started to piece together Mark's heroic actions. I learned that it was 115, 120 degrees in Ramadi, Iraq that day. They'd been fighting an intense firefight for 2 hours already. He carried the big gun, the 50 cal, so he carried anywhere from 150 to 180 pounds in addition to his own weight. I live in Arizona. Sometimes we see 115, but I can tell you, we're in our swimming pool, we're in our air-conditioned car, we're in our air-conditioned office, our air-conditioned house. We're not out there being shot at, running for 2 hours. I've been to Iraq. I wore that body armor. 35 pounds, what I've been told is about what the chest plates and all loaded up. But I wasn't carrying anything else. I couldn't wait till I got back at the end of the day to get that off. And my neck was always, and my shoulders. So I can't even imagine how you carry 150 to 180 pounds for 2 hours that you fight in that intense firefight.
And then your brothers, when they fall, it's very heavy. But
Yeah. And there were 4 of them that were on the rooftop. That was, in the movie American Sniper. Mark's the, third main character portrayed in that movie. And on the rooftop, they show Ryan getting shot. The bullets hit the weapon, so he had severe shrapnel injuries to the head. And he dropped to the ground. 2 of the other SEALs that were there quickly dropped to help Ryan. Mark could have made that very same choice, but his choice that day was to stand up in the line of fire right where Ryan had just been shot. He knew he had the big gun. He knew he could lay down suppressive fire. And they didn't have a medic up there. They knew that was crucial. If Ryan stood a chance, they had to get the medic up there. So Mark stood out to lay down that cover so the medic could get up there. And he got up there and took one look at Ryan and said, "We got to get him out of here immediately, or there's no chance for survival." So not just once, but a second time, by himself, he stood up in the line of fire again to lay down that cover so they could get Ryan out of there. And they did. They all successfully got down off that roof. They sent Ryan off in a Bradley for medical attention. They climbed in their Bradleys and they headed back to that base. I told you it was named Camp Marc Lee in his memory that I got to visit. And they were pretty sure, after looking at Ryan and his injuries, that he probably wasn't going to survive. Ryan did survive until 3 years later. Tragically, was given 2 medications together, double doses of that should never be administered. So basically, the hospital killed him. But he did survive that and live for 3 years. And I remember Chris Kyle telling me that you know, they were pretty sure that Ryan had gone. They're trying to process around that. They're getting water to, refresh themselves and take their gear off. And the chief came in. He said, "We just found 30 of the insurgents that just attacked us." And without hesitation, Mark looked at his chief and he said, "Roger that. Let's go get him." So they climbed into their Bradleys and they headed back to that godforsaken place. They cleared several houses and they went in the last house Mark would be in. They cleared the bottom of the house and they started up the stairs and they heard Mark yell, "On me." And you guys know what he was saying. He was saying, "I got the lead on this. You guys follow me." And as they went up those steps, they drew fire through a window. And for the last and final time, Mark turned into that line of fire again to save his teammates. He didn't duck below the wall. He didn't let his buddies go ahead of him. He made the choice to stand in that line of fire and give them the gift of life. And that trickles down to each one of us in America. Most people don't understand that sacrifice. And while I had no choice, the news that was given to me on August 2nd, it did have a choice how I responded.
That's right.
My choice was to put on Mark's boots and pick up his weapon and stay in the fight. My choice was to say, "On me," and keep fighting and saying, "Okay, guys, here's what we need to do. We got veterans that need taken care of. We got Gold Star families. On me, let's go." And I think, no matter what we go through in life, I don't care if it's health issues, financial issues, marriage issues, we do have a choice how we respond. And if more of us would take that attitude and not quit and persevere and say, "On me, let's go, let's do this," and focus on those things that we can change and not on the things that we can't change. Like I said, me sitting around mumbling, complaining about nobody being there to support in the beginning. And don't get me wrong, when my Charlie boys got back in October, that's when the support, really started. And it was a two-way street. I know that Jocko, that was Mark's task unit commander, and Leif, they said how shocked they were when they finally spoke to me that night after Mark died, and that my concern was for them, and I remember thinking, oh my gosh, I can't make any kind of a decision right now in the midst of this grief. And here's Mark's teammates who are hurting just as bad as we are. They're still in the combat zone. Yeah. They still got to go out on missions. Yeah. My concern was for them. How are they going to function in the midst of the loss and the hurt and the pain without jeopardizing more lives? And both Jocko and Leif have said how stunned they were that when they called me, they think they're going to be supporting Mark's mom who just lost his son. Yeah. And that I was like, "How are you guys doing? What can I do? How can I help?" And again, we all have a choice, just like you guys, when you're going through your heavy training, whether it's the SEAL going through the buds or, your basic or boot camp, you got a choice whether you keep going or not, and you get to a place where physically your body says, "I'm toast, I'm done, there's nothing left." And yet it's your brain that says, "Nope, you run one more stride, you swim one more lap, don't quit, you keep going." And we need to have that attitude in life because there are going to be tragedies. There are going to be trials that are going to come. And that's where we refine our strength. You guys, when you were getting ready to go to combat, how many times did you go to the shooting range? You didn't go once and go, "I got this." You went back over and over and over, and you practiced and you practiced and practiced. So you knew exactly that weapon you had in your hand, what it was going to do, what you needed to do. If you were a sniper, you knew how to take in the wind and you learned those things, but you didn't just learn it once and go, "I got this, I'm good to go." You practiced it over and over. And so life gives us those circumstances. If we allow it, over and over, they will strengthen us, and make us stronger. And again, I still am not to a place where I feel like I'm over losing Mark. Yeah. There are still times something will trigger that and some tears will come. But it's not like in the beginning where it was all day of, sitting and crying and feeling like I can't get out of bed. And so you learn those ways to manage and cope with the grief. And that's, for me, some of the things that I've been able to share, with these other families. And one of the things I start with is when you wake up in the morning, you find one thing to be grateful for. And you feel like in those tough times, there couldn't be anything you could be grateful for. I'm like, "Hey, did you have hot water in your shower?" "Yeah." "Okay, we'll be grateful for the hot water and shower." So a lot of our troops overseas, they didn't get a shower today, let alone a hot one.
Or
and
this
once
or
you have
this
that
week
attitude,
maybe. I said or this
Do what?
week. I said or this week maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Or 2 weeks. I mean, I've heard stories of, weeks with no shower. Exercise. Make sure you're working out every day. Again, in the beginning, I didn't feel like walking 5 miles a day like I do now. It was like, oh my gosh, get up and just walk to the end of the block. It's only 3 houses away. Do it. Okay. And then it gets contagious. You have a feel good endorphins that's released. So then walk a little bit further, walk a little bit further. Make sure you're eating healthy. I could be a carb junk. I love the, chips and salsa and dips and sweets, but that's not good for me. That's not good for my brain health. So, I've learned to eat healthier and I feel so much better. And then do something for somebody else. If you're out there, no matter what you're in the midst of, doing something for somebody else, you're not focused inward on yourself, and it makes such a difference.
You're absolutely right, and I'd like to inject a few things into the conversation here. One thing I heard you say when we talked about the Keiko guys showing up was the first thing you mentioned, how you were feeling sorry for those guys for coming to have to give you that news, and to me that's completely amazing, and it just goes to state how strong your faith is and what type of person you are. And I'm sure you know this, and I don't know if our listeners do, and I don't really care. But I didn't have the pleasure of knowing Mark. I didn't serve with him. But one thing I do know is that before the guys would go out, Mark would lead the guys in prayer. And to be that concerned about your guys that you're with, to ask them to take just a minute,
Yeah.
that says a lot.
Yeah, and I know another thing you picked up on, your empathy. It's just amazing. It's as if you went into your grief initially, got it out the way, and you were there for the guys that came back home because they weren't allowed to grieve. Mentally, their brains wouldn't allow them to process that information because we knew we're still in the ground. And I went through that. And then that rubber band doesn't snap until you get home and you don't got so many things to do anymore. And now you reflect, and then boom, it's like it happened yesterday. And there you are, Mama Lee, letting them know, guys, I'm the mama. I'm okay. You guys will be okay. I got you. And that's very important, and that was necessary. I loved it.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. And I just, like you said, it was a two-way street. They would call and check on me. I would call and check on them. We got the platoon picture. Somebody sent that to me fairly early on because I'm like, I want to know you guys. I want to know who you are. And of course, they all got, it's Dauber and Biggles. And I'm like, Dauber? Who's Dauber? Who's Biggles? Wait, come on. Okay, this
Biggles?
guy that's on the back row on the left, what's his name? And I have that picture still where in the beginning I wrote each one's name above their head and I'd look at them and, start to learn them. I found out when's your birthday and I'd send them, happy birthday. When's your anniversary? Who's your family? How many kids do you have? Several of them, their moms reached out and, we would speak. And, so when they came home in October, just days or maybe the same week that Mike Monsoor was killed. And again, I knew that I needed to be there for them, not to be, oh my gosh, there's Mark's mom, but to be, woohoo, the rest of my boys made it home, and to support them and encourage them and, be there for them.
And show them that strength.
Yeah, and that's, you were going to say something, Paulie?
Yeah, so, being a child of God, knowing everything and growing up in a Christian home, I consider you, and I'm, reflecting on everything like Moses. You parted the Red Sea. You were that person that took on all of the sin, all of the problems, and you made a way. You created a path for the other people to come and follow you.
Definitely a trailblazer. Definitely.
For sure.
Complete trailblazer. And I thank you for that.
Well, thank you. And I, again, because of my faith, I had studied God's character. I knew, when I had the preschool and kindergarten, went through 1 year in my quiet time because I read through the Bible every year. And I had that year written down every character name of God. If I saw anything that was a name or a character quality, I wrote those down. And at the end of the time, I had, compiled, I don't know, there were hundreds of different names and titles and character qualities. And I was like, oh, that'd be pretty cool to teach the ABCs to the kids this way by, having one of the names of God or character qualities to the kids. And so, I tried to make it relatable to the kids. Abba, A is, B is beautiful, C is cool, D is dad, and went through the alphabet. But because I'd studied that, I knew who God was. He didn't cause Mark's death. That was the sin in the world. It didn't surprise him. It's not like he looked the other way and went, oh my gosh, I missed that. I didn't mean for that to happen. What do we do now? No, he knew that in the midst of the toughest pain I would go through, I would trust him. And people are all the time saying, you're such a strong woman. I'm like, nope, I'm not. I'm a weak woman with a strong God. And, I think that's how you brought Moses up. It was God that parted the Red Sea, but Moses trusted him to do that. And so for me, I trust God that, lots of times it doesn't make any sense what he's asking me to do, but he's so much smarter than me. I just learned to trust him. I was a rebel in my 20s. God says he hates 7 things. I'd done 6 of them. I was faithful in my marriage. You can go check out and read the other things he hates, and you'll understand what's in the back. But
I was counting. I was like, which one?
But again, you look who God used in the Bible. There's not one perfect person. Oh wait, yes, there was. It was Jesus. That was the only perfect one. I mean, look at David.
Hey, I got it. Jesus kicked some ass. So
Old Testament Jesus. Old Testament Jesus with one word wiped out all his enemies.
Not only that, they were loaning money in his God's house. He went around beating people with sticks. He didn't take any shit.
So upset.
Well,
I'm just saying.
And he turned the tables over.
Yeah, that was right. And on reality TV, they get that from Jesus. With the spilling of the drinks and the flipping of the tape. Jesus started all that. Yeah, he did.
Forget about it. He would throw down. And also, I think this is a good place to segue. We got Mark's birthday bash coming up on March 20th. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, this is like our key event for the year. I think lots of times when you have a hero who gives their life, everything focuses on their final day. And I want to focus on who Mark was, how he lived his life, the gift that he was, not just to me, but to the world. And so this year we're doing #celebrate Marc, M-A-R-C, Lee, L-E-E. And we're doing our big event at Scottsdale Gun Club. If you guys can come in for it, if you're in the area, it is an amazing event. It's not, gala with fancy dresses and tuxedos. It's a teen guy event. If you want your flip-flops and your cargo shorts like Mark would have been in, this is your event. It is, all your food and drinks is included for the night. We've got J.P. Donnell, who was one of the Task Unit Bruiser boys. He was Mark's buddy who was on the sister platoon. He was the counterpart. So Chris Kyle was the sniper on Charlie. JP was the sniper on Delta platoon. But he also was the first employee that Jocko and Leif hired at Echelon Front. So amazing speaker, great sense of humor, amazing story he'll be telling. He's just recently gone through our Helping Heroes Heal program, so he'll be sharing how that's changed him as well. Jacob Schick will be there as well. Jake runs 22 Kill. His fiance started working for me 5 months ago, so they're coming in for the event, but we're going to have him share briefly a little bit as well. He's in the midst of going through our program right now. And then I'll be sharing Mark's amazing story, but we've got tons of silent auction. We've got guns that are personalized. One of them, it's a Marlin, and the silversmithing on it is just phenomenal. We even have I had a copy of Mark's signature. He worked for me, and so I had one of his pay stubs, and they put Mark's actual signature, on that firearm. But we've got everything you can think of. And, 2020 was a crazy year. We had to cancel all of our events. We lost $375,000 in fundraising expenses, yet our Helping Heroes Heal program doubled last year. So, this is crucial for us to continue our mission to be able to support. we're encouraging people this year around the world. If you can't come, then, go to the pub, raise your glass. We've got them in Ireland that are doing that. In Australia, they're going to be doing a workout on the beach. We've got another firearms facility in Kansas City that's doing an event. The state of Louisiana, which we're not from Louisiana, has declared it Marc Lee Day.
That's right.
And the entire state is going to be honoring Marc. Grab your kids together, read Marc's amazing last letter to them, and then just take some pictures and post, put hashtag celebrate Marc Lee on there. We're going to pull a montage together throughout the day of that and show that night. And I'll have to send you the link. I don't have it off the top of my head. I should have had that, where people can go to register, because even if you're not there, you can bid on the silent auction items to continue to support us. But we want to keep Marc's memory and his legacy alive and continue to celebrate, that crazy kid, his sense of humor, and the sacrifice that he did make.
Well, Mama Lee, this show is probably going to come out in about 5 days, so you can send me that link, and when we put the video together, we'll make sure that link comes across. So when people are watching the show, they'll be able to get the link, and we'll be able to get you some traffic and some more bandwidth. And
a link to the letter. I'm intrigued. I would like to hear this letter.
I've read the letter a couple times, and there's no possible way that I'd be able to read it in its entirety. I just wouldn't be able to. I would lock up and I'd start crying just because that's where I'm at. And it's
a powerful letter.
It is. It's very powerful. He talks about some of his experiences in country, and he talks briefly. He gleans over it, and then he also talks about being able to pay it forward, being able just to assist your fellow man. Oh, yeah. And it is truly amazing. It's touching, and it's right to the point. And she has taken the feeling behind that letter and used it to create this foundation, and she's helping hundreds and thousands of people, and it's just amazing what's going on.
Yeah, I would like just to add that for such a young individual to reach such a profound state of consciousness, it takes combat. Yeah. Because once again, we all could equate it to not knowing what sweet really is without having the salty. You need contrast. And to be able to see such ugliness and the real capabilities of humans and always walk with that, you have to understand the only way you combat that is with the exact opposite, love. Perpetrating love. That's it. And then and what's crazy is, excuse me for even making this, because I don't know how it'll be received, but making this statement, I feel as if he knew he must have written that. He had to write that letter at that time to get it out. And he lived within the moment. And that was a genuine statement of his, because only people that live in the motherfucking moment know how truly valuable it is. And look where we are today with those words as a guidance.
Yeah.
Well, he was absolutely a man of faith. He was strong. He was one of the core guys in the team, obviously one of the core guys in the platoon, and to have such a strong faith and then be such an astute and aggressive and efficient warrior where he was doing what he was doing, that's exactly the embodiment of the statement that you just made.
Yeah.
So he was a mix of a man of God and a super.
It's a warrior of God.
Exactly.
It's
right.
to acknowledge
Exactly
the existence of such a title. The warrior of God is to acknowledge that there is an effort opposite of good that is active, that needs to be met at the front line. And that is what he was. That's what he did. And he accepted that, but yet still a man of good, a man of God. But yet he was not afraid to meet the opposite.
And then when he passed to the next world, his mother picked up the torch, like she said, put his boots on, grabbed his gear, and got right back after it.
Well, they're just flowing. They're flowing what God gave you.
And God love you for that, Mama Lee.
Yes. God
well,
bless.
Thank you. I think back to one of the stories that Jocko's told of them getting ready to leave camp Marc Lee on a mission, and he would be there each time they went out to send his guys off. And he said he started to realize that every time they went out, Marc was in the turret gun in the lead vehicle. And that's the most dangerous place to be. And yet day after day, he'd see Marc up there. Marc wave at him with his little grin on his face, you know, we're going to go get some. And he said pretty soon it was like, well, wow, that was 5 days. That's 10 days. That's 50. Nobody's changing out with Marc, you know, and he's not like, hey, guys, come on, really, seriously? I've been up there for a month now. Somebody else take that. He said Marc was always the one that volunteered to go in there.
Well,
and I think as I look back, I know he had peace knowing where he was going to go if something happened. And that's just who he was, that selflessness to say, no, I'm good. I'm not sure about these other guys, but I know I am. So I'm going to take that spot. You know, he knew he had the big gun too. Obviously, you don't carry that from, you know, usually from the turret gunner, but I mean, you've got a gun set up there already. But,
well, what I don't know this for sure, obviously, but because I wasn't there. But I would offer that individuals had asked him to switch out that position, and I bet he turned them down on several occasions.
Yeah, probably exactly right. But you think of one of the toughest warriors we have in America, and yet his last letter home, he ends that with, "To my family and friends, do me a favor. Pass on the kindness, the love, the precious gift of human life." And as you said before, that contrast, you know, between going out there and, you know, spending some ammunition, major amounts, and taking out the enemy, and, you know, and yet the compassion. That letter that he wrote it about 2.5 weeks before he was killed. And I think you're spot on that he knew, I need to go write this letter and I need to write it now. And it wasn't that if you're reading this, I'm gone. You know, it just was so much more impactful. But that was actually the last written word that we got from him. He sent it, you know, via email to about 12 or 13, you know, of his close, you know, friends and family members that were on that email thread. And I homeschooled my kids. And Marc was not stupid by any means, you know, smart man. But the language, I'd never seen him before. That wasn't his strong, you know, suit. And so when I got that, when it came as an email and I got done reading it, I'm like, wait, who wrote this? You know, and I went back to the top to see if I'd opened another email thinking it was Marc. And sure enough, it was Marc. But you just feel, you know, when you read that, how much he was changed by what he saw in that country.
He evolved.
How much he realized even more so how, you know, what a gift it is. He said, we live in an amazing country and we have an obligation to keep it that way. But he says, you know, when he talks about the random acts of kindness, you know, and he says, when's the last time you helped a stranger with, you know, groceries into their car, or, you know, donated clothes you hadn't worn out? He said, don't get me wrong. He said, I'm just as bad as the rest of you. When I was over there, all I did was take, you know, and that's when he goes into that. And it's just, whew, as you said, the wisdom in that 28-year-old kid, you know, was far beyond his years. And, you know, that letter, the books that are written, literally millions and millions of lives have been changed by that kid. And I don't exaggerate those numbers.
No.
And, you know, will continue to be. We don't know, you know, how great that impact will be, but as long as I got breath, you know, I'm going to be out there fighting for you guys and telling his story.
That's the secret of immortality to me, is you can live forever, depending on how many people you impacted and they want to continue to give, you know, sing your praises.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And Mama Lee, just so you know, from this moment forward, we're going to sing out the America's Mighty Warriors Foundation on every episode, every piece of video we put out. And also, Polly and Jason. Jason's a former Marine Corps sniper. Polly was former Marine Corps and Army. They head up the NYPD long range team. And there's an event on Marc's birthday this year. And we're going to do a raffle in Marc's name, and we're going to send the proceeds off to you. So we're going to help out in the ways that we can. So
awesome.
If you could, how can our people reach out to you? How can they get a hold of you? How can they donate? How can they assist you in what you have going on?
Yeah, if you go to our website at mightywarriors.org. You can reach out there. You can donate there. Check out our store. We've got tons of great gear and merchandise. All the books that are on there tell Marc's amazing story. I'm contributing author in 4 of those books. The rest of them are written by Marc's teammates that were with him when he died. All of Jocko's books are in there. We've even got, kids leadership books, and the little boy in the story is Marc. So they're the Way of the Warrior kids books. Those are in there. But 97% of what comes into our foundation goes back to the troops, veterans, and Gold Star families through our programs. I just get so stinking frustrated when you hear of charities and you find out 30% is going to the cause. And I'm not one of those that say, oh, well, nonprofit, nobody should get paid and everything should be donated, because that's not practical to run a successful one. You have to, incur some of those. But when they're exorbitant salaries, we don't pay fundraisers. Somebody had done a grant assessment that was looking at helping us, and she'd done an assessment. She goes, well, you have expenses for the facility at Scottsdale Gun Club. I'm like, nope, donated. Well, you've got food expenses. Nope, donated. I said, you got, wine and beer expenses. Nope, donated.
You're barking up the wrong tree here.
Yeah, we're really fortunate. And as my board says, she's very frugal, that, I got to feel like, holy cow, my son gave his life. Are you kidding me? You can't, give us a tray of, pulled pork, or, donate some cases of wine, or, and not that I guilt people, I don't tell people that, but we've been really fortunate to have amazing supporters. We've got some corporations that we're the charitable giving program for. So, if your listeners own their own business and they want to get in touch with us and do a roundup, people are buying from you, and, their totals, 25.38, and you'd ask them, do you want to round up the difference and donate it back to us? I mean, there's so many ways that you can give. And then our gear, when people wear our gear, it just gets, well, tell us about America's Mighty Warriors. What's the deal there? Who was Marc Lee? What? Again, that just, you're force multipliers for us, when you do that. And that just makes our impact and reach even greater to be able to support you guys. So, and I love Marines too. Obviously, I'm very partial to my SEAL family, but my oldest son did serve in the Marines. My son-in-law was in the Army. My brother retired after 33 years in the Air Force, so I can do the hoo-yah, hoorah, hoo-ah.
That's it, Mama.
Pretty dang good.
Have That's right. They don't have one, so I made it up. It's jacuzzi.
Jacuzzi. Ooh, I like that one.
Oh, my God.
I like
jacuzzi.
So I love all branches of the military. They all have their role and their part to do.
One last question. As far as our aftercare and the government's involvement in it, I guess if I can describe it, I would say a little not so efficient. Is this a part of us taking our own back and being able to provide for those that we truly care about, and it's not one of those systematic things that get lost in bureaucracy? Is your movement a part of the movement of taking the care back of our own guys?
Yeah. And I think, we have watched, I live in Phoenix, the VA scandal in Phoenix, and that's been a while ago now, that it still is not a whole heck of a lot better. It's a little bit better, but it's still not better. And to me, that's unconscionable. We train you guys, we give you the equipment, we send you off to battle, and then I feel like you guys come home and they're like, oh, yeah, we're good. Yeah. Here, take these pills, go away now, don't bother me. And that's not okay in my world. That is not okay in my world. We have an obligation as a nation to try to get your health restored, whether it's spiritually, mentally, physically. We owe that to you guys to get that restored as close as we can to who you were before you went out in combat. And, that's why we work so hard on that. And, we've looked hard. We've done lots of research to find those things that are helping. And I like I said, I've got a glimpse into what you guys did over there, a glimpse compared to what you do. But I do understand, why you guys are self-medicating, whether it's alcohol, drugs, sex, abuse of pills, whatever, because it's some crazy, intense pain that you guys are in. But I want to provide that hope that we have seen so many things and so many changes. that are actually healing your brains and helping heal your bodies, and want to give you guys that hope. I think so many of our veterans have tried so many therapies that didn't work. You know, they were promised to help them and they didn't work.
And
And I can tell you the ones that we're doing do make a difference. And there is hope. You don't have to live like that.
That's right. And the reason I bring that up is so that people understand when we're singing out the praises of these 501c3 corporations, it's kudos to a capitalist society to where we're not dependent on the government and their inefficiencies to do such an important job. We're allowed to create charities and each one take care of each other. You know what I mean? And this is important. That's why it's important to donate and get these things done.
Yes. Yeah, your donations, like I said, are actually saving lives.
That's right.
Well, Mama Lee, again, I got nothing but gratitude and love for you and everything that you're doing for everyone that you've been involved with in your life so far. And every show that we put out, every piece of media that we put out, we're going to mention America's Mighty Warriors and how people can go forward and help you out and help you move the football down the field. So, like I said, I'm going to be reaching out to you for that link for the video. And hopefully sometime we'll be able to get out to Arizona and spend some time with you and do a video piece. And I'm going to mention your organization to some of the individuals that I'm involved with, and we're going to see what we can do to help you out. But
awesome. That means so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
And
no, thank you, Amelie.
I wish, like I
for
said,
trailblazing and putting that pack on and running with it. Thank you.
I wish there was something that I could say that could convey how grateful we are and how grateful the nation is to have your son and individuals like your son be willing to sacrifice everything so we can keep that filth over there and not here. And like I said, I got nothing but love for you. And if there's anything we can do for you, please reach out. You know how to get in contact with me. I'm not difficult to find. And like I said, we got nothing but praise, and we're going to do everything we can for you. So thank you so much for coming on the show. And I think I only said fuck one time, which is a new two twice.
Yeah, now twice, right?
Which gets double thumbs up.
Which is a new record for me. But again, thank you so much, and thank you for everything that you do, and for the families that you're helping out, and for our vets that were involved in whatever they're involved in. Just can't say that enough. So we appreciate you. And
I do feel your hearts. I do feel that back very deeply. So thank you.
You're quite welcome. And again, I'll be reaching out to you shortly to get that link. And I'm sure we're going to be seeing each other in the future. So you take care of yourself, and Mama Lee, I'll be reaching out. Thank you.
All righty. Thank you, guys. Have a great day.
Bye.
You too. Bye-bye. Wow. I only started crying like 3 times.
Yeah, man. I wasn't looking, dog.
Nah, it's all right. It's all right if you were. Polly was crying too. I seen it.
You guys are little girls.
That's right. Hey, I got it. I'm a gray bearded little girl.
I pictured it in
That's
my mind.
dirty. That's dirty, right?
Gray bearded little girl dressed like Britney Spears.
That's right. Yeah. I'll be shaving my hair, scratching my Cadillac.
Oh my God.
Shaking it but not breaking it.
Yeah. In your past life, you were a rapper, Steve.
That's right. Well, I don't want to dirty up this episode because
my bad.
I do that. So.
I tried, dog. I tried to bring you into the dark side. I'm sorry.
No,
bad,
man,
JD, bad.
That's all good. And with that, remember, America's Mighty Warriors Foundation. And 20th of March is Marc Lee's. Harold's going to have the episode ready by the fucking end of this week.
That's 3 times.
That's right.
Damn, you did good, man. I'm not going to lie.
Man, I'm telling you.
I'm
telling you. And she's an easy interview. Wow, that is a courageous, motivated, industrious, energetic, efficient woman. Wow.
I will say this.
Wow.
That woman has seen a lot of things.
Wow. Dude, a little bit more than a year after her son's killed, she's in country?
Yeah.
Wow.
Definitely answered her calling.
Dude, forget about it. That's some stones. She's got stones of solid rock right there. And then you go back again in 010.
And then Afghanistan.
Yeah, trying to go over to Stan. I'm glad she didn't go.
Yeah, and interesting thing.
We're
She
talking about
she
a
mentioned there that
different deal.
her intentions were there to go.
Yeah?
And then through nuances, it didn't happen. But she wasn't bent out of shape because it was outside of her control. In other words,
Yeah?
all that must happen will happen, and all that's not supposed to won't. That's it.
Well, dude, like today, like traffic was easy coming from Long Island, and then for the first time ever, there's a parking place directly in front of the skiff. And then she didn't have her Skype set up. She gets on the telephone with Polly for 5-7 minutes, and boom, her Skype's set up. We do the first radio check. She's a little bit off center. We do the second radio check, and she's centered perfectly. Perfect video on that.
Yeah.
Perfect. Amazing, well-spoken, comes across well. Even when I asked her a couple of the hard questions.
I think what you're getting at is this was meant to be put together, put out, and we are fortunate to have a piece of that great energy.
Well, you're exactly right. And not only that, we had talked about this before. We've talked about it a few times recently. We're not everybody's cup of tea. We're just not. And this episode's going to be different, but we're dirtier, we're grittier, we're more authentic, for lack of a better term. But then we have individuals like Mama Lee, who's been there, who's done that, who's made the ultimate sacrifice for our great nation. And she said it when she was going off. She said, "I can feel it in your heart."
Yeah.
And that's really what it's all about. You know what I'm saying?
Nah,
Because
man, I mean,
the people that aren't real, they don't come here.
I mean that her interview, her words kind of like woke up a lot of things that took me back. Took me back to my process, and then losing brothers, and then dealing with their parents, and how their parents are still in the picture, still sending us Christmas cards and calling and texting after all these years, and they're the ones who lost, and they're recognizing our loss and then our trauma, and still be letting us know that we're there for you. You know what I mean? So that honoring that relationship, that brotherhood, it's just so important. There was a lot of things said today that I think had to be laid out, and man, that was great. You're right. This is beautiful.
No, we're supposed to be doing this. Go ahead, Paula, please.
She had me at when she pulls up to a gas station or someone or somewhere where she says, "You know what, I got this." And you know how we are. We're very,
Stoic.
We're like, "No, thank you." But here's someone who lost someone. Her entire life was gone. And she's like, "No, I have your cup of tea."
Hey, her entire life wasn't gone. She had the Marine son. What do we, chop liver here? All right. I'm defending you, bro. Chris, I got you, B.
But
It's hard being the Marine younger brother.
You know what he's saying. What he's saying.
No, it hits me
I
hard.
live in Steve's shadow, and I'm tired of it.
I'm too short. Your lower half lives in my shadow.
That's the only house that matters, dude.
That's right.
Yeah, because it hits me hard because I'm too prideful to accept that cup of tea, to accept that gallon of gas from someone that says, "Hey, I got you." And no, we spoke about this, right? I earned it. I was out fucking whores and doing what I had to do.
Oh, easy. We're trying to keep this.
Whoa.
No, this is Mama Lee's episode. No, we still love you.
Jesus.
Just rein it in a little.
Rephrase that.
We
You
know
were
it.
out doing less than scrupulous things, okay?
No, we're gonna leave that in. Now go ahead. We got you.
No.
Come on. We gotta
I
leave
feel
it
so
in.
dirty. All your effort is just negated by that.
Nah, leave it in. We just talked about that's what this show is, and she won't be upset. Come on.
We said Jesus on here.
A bunch of times.
A lot of time. I'm sorry, guys.
Paulie said he's
it's all right.
Pentecostal. I don't know how I feel about that. Go ahead.
No, we still love
No,
you.
but think about it. We're so prideful and yo, we earned it. It is what it is. Don't give me that pettiness. But to her, it's not pettiness.
Nah, I don't know. I feel different now about that. I'm
Totally different.
I'm at a different place,
The next time someone says thank you for your service, I'm gonna think about Marc Lee and I'm gonna be like, thank you.
Thank you for thanking me.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Thank you for the thanks.
And accept it with gratitude. Because you don't know where it's coming from.
I don't know. I just accept everything that's offered.
I told you. If it ain't a discount, I don't want it.
Hey, listen, man. I need a break in this world, bro. It's New York.
Absolutely.
They charge you $60 as soon as you wake up. It's crazy.
Well, just like that sponsor right there, Staccato Pistols sponsoring you guys. That's a solid move. NYPD Long Range Team, you guys are getting a bunch of steam, getting some inertia going on. Then we got the Recon Sniper Foundation.
Love
we
those
got
guys.
Rory's Retreat going on.
Oh my God! Can I say something about
No,
Rory's
please
Retreat?
do.
Oh
Please
man,
do.
we have so much.
Dude, Ed, Cabezon 2024
My man.
on Instagram. Listen, this guy right here, MTA, ESU, bad summer mama. This guy right here is doing the David Goggins 4x4x48 challenge. What is that, Paulie?
Yeah, Polly, what is that?
So think about it. He's running 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours.
Uphill both ways?
That's 48 miles in
That's
48 hours.
Yeah,
Yeah, do the math, Steve.
No.
It is.
it
My
is.
my brain hurts. Ow!
And I was there with him at 3 a.m, and he was just as
His
strong
second leg.
for his second leg, and that guy was motivating me, and it was just beautiful.
So the reason I bring that up is because this event has garnered the first donations that are watering the seed that is known as Rory's Retreat through
Bam.
vets.org. And that's a 501c3 ran by our boy Ray Guasp. And
Is it veterans.org or Veterans Outreach?
veteransresponse.org.
Veterans
I'm sorry.
Response, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
veterans.
Yeah, it's
Response.
veteransresponse.org. I'm sorry.
That's all right, brother.
My
I
TBI
messed it up,
flaring
too.
up, dog. My TBI flaring up. Anyway,
Which they have raised
$3,100 as of the
Nice.
moment of us sitting down for this interview. So, wow, that is $3,100 this man raised towards that effort.
through his sweat and blood.
And the plan is basically, so you guys know what the effort is to somehow acquire some property and convert it into a retreat with transient, rooms. So where veterans feeling the stresses, of their
Whatever.
combat psychosis, feeling down and out, go give us a call, get out there and just hang out, check out the ocean, surf a bit.
in
and
Puerto Rico.
Well, yeah, in Puerto Rico, but this could be anywhere. It's just we
but-
could do this some other places too. No, not only at Puerto. I'm like spread
The
this shit
home
out.
base. The home base is
Yeah.
Puerto Rico. You
Yeah, because it's
surf.
gorgeous and it's awesome. And you know what? It's west side of the island. Surf is pimping. But you're gonna. The idea is to get veterans around veterans and take care of our healing. Amongst ourselves. Kind of like taking it back from those that are like inadequate at it and just saying, you know what, we got this, dude. Don't worry.
Like that's what you were talking about earlier about
Yeah.
capitalism working.
Yep.
Because
Look at that.
Because it does work. Because the VA is failing veterans. All they're doing is throwing pills at it.
It's a bare
Try-
minimalist society.
It's
culture.
wrong on so many levels.
Bare minimalist culture, and it's incentivized by big pharma.
Right.
So
Which is why we're still in Afghanistan because of big pharma.
yeah, we need that opium, son.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly right. So what we sang out Recon Sniper Foundation. Who else we got? We got Mitch Aguiar over at Massive.
Adopt a
of
Cop,
course. We
BJJ.
got Adopt a Cop BJJ, of course. That's awesome. And then we got Rogue American Apparel, our brothers out there. And what's Rudy got going on? Force Blue. Love that guy.
Yeah.
All Secure
Love it.
Foundation.
Yeah, All Secure Foundation, that's right. And then High Caliber Training,
High caliber training.
another one of our guys. Go ahead, Paulie.
I want to talk about Rack Ops.
Rack
Oh,
up
Rack Up CBD.
CBD.
Oh, those
Pop,
guys.
pop.
Joe,
Look at this.
love that guy.
It's a magnet.
Bam, it's stuck. I love it.
It's a magnet. He got those for the refrigerators,
I like
So-
it.
Guys like decorating refrigerators in the trailer park and shit.
I like it.
Right. So my wife has been, because of COVID and everything, been a stay-at-home mom, working, a lunch lady, a school teacher,
Well, stop. A stay-at-home mom working, so she's working from home?
Yeah.
working from home
All right.
Full time.
full
So
time.
a stay-at-home mom who's working from home. Because a stay-at-home mom who's working is like, what? What does that mean?
Exactly. We're 2020, 2021 with the bullshit COVID,
10-second rule.
and she's doing what she has to do. She's taking care of my 4 kids. And after this last episode,
Oh,
where
you
we-
mean it's this trip to PR where you left her there at the 4 kids?
Hey,
by herself?
douchebag, Paulie.
You believe
You're a
that?
fucking douche.
Hey!
the TBI flared up, I had to leave.
Sorry.
That I was defending Lily.
No, you
So
said
I could
you
drop.
said-
I could drop it.
Okay.
It was in defense of a
No,
damsel
Mom.
in distress
No, I'm just talking
from a
nonsense.
douchebag.
That's me.
Yeah.
But
Oh, we still love you though.
Yeah, it's cool, man.
But I introduced her to Rack Ops,
Uh-huh.
and the mixture of melatonin and CBD has helped her sleep and wake up the next morning ready to rock and roll and take care of those 4 monsters in my
She
house.
punch you in your neck yet?
Not after
I
that.
know.
Not
After
after
this
that.
episode, when she finds out you went on vacation and drugged her during the whole vacation.
How else is he going to get out of the house? I mean, come on.
Paul is sugar daddy.
And while we were at Puerto Rico, Jason was able to do some tattoos. He was able
yeah.
to sling
Timber
some
and
ink.
Blues.
Timber and Blues, baby.
And of course, one of our other sponsors is Surly Slams.
Shirley
yeah.
Sam's.
I took Shirley Sam's with me to Puerto Rico. I take it with me everywhere. Listen,
I have so much inappropriate humor that I'm just holding on to.
Let
I
it rip.
actually use it for all my tattoos.
All right, then.
I do.
Beautiful stuff. You can put it in your beard, put it in your hair,
In your bunghole.
post
Oh, Mama Lee, I'm
tattoo.
sorry, Mama Lee. I'm so sorry.
That's
Mama Lee, we love you.
I couldn't pass
Nah,
that
dude,
one up.
this-
It was so good. He set it up for me.
This is so low key in comparison to what we're normally talking about.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right.
And the blessings keep coming. I mean,
It's so wonderful.
we did our first event February up at
No, Sheepdog Warrior
Sheepdog
LLC,
Warriors.
the range. That's right.
and we got sponsored
Shout out,
by
Ed.
Staccato.
Staccato.
Form-
Get the pistols on there.
Yeah.
Get them on there. That's right.
So this is a company that was formerly known as STI.
Uh-huh.
STI turned into Staccato, and they are building 2011 duty pistols. Those 2 pistols you see right there.
Probably
is-
said duty.
I did say duty.
Mama Lee, guys. Mama Lee. Go on.
Those 2 beautiful pistols right there. We have the Staccato 2011P and the Staccato 20P Duo. And we're going to be running those at the Real World Sniper Competition. And those guys are nail drivers.
Yeah, tack driver's like a summer mama. Boy, I pulled that thing out. What was it, like the first
Tell
shot?
me your experience, Jason, when you first pulled that trigger at 50 yards.
Well, so got on the paper target. Boom. Saw a little orange circle on the paper target. I must have been a good freaking 15, 20 yards away. And I'm taking a shot, trying to familiarize myself with the pistol. And I just look up, and with my Hawkeye vision, I noticed I was actually hitting that motherfucking circle.
Kabam!
Yeah, and I was
Hard.
like, whoa, this thing's accurate. So then I swung it over to some steel, which so happened to be about 50 yards away. And first shot, ding, I was like, no.
No, what is this?
And consistently, ding, ding. Let me tell you, to me, it's because it's not a commercial, nothing like that. I just figured this out. It's got a polymer lower.
yes.
So to me, it's forgiving on the hand, on the grip. So on the personal side, it's personal. And then it's got the steel upper.
Steel frame.
The steel frame it's just amazing in absorbing the recoil. So you have a soft lower and a sturdy steel freaking upper that is absorbing recoil, and that can only equate to fucking a tack driver, dude. This thing is sick, man. This is like the Ferrari or the Lamborghini of pistols. One of those two.
Then we got to buy some.
Yeah,
we got it.
got him too.
And
I
then,
don't know. I
then
mean-
you go back to the 100-yard line.
Oh, yeah, we were dinging him at the 100-yard lines. Not as fast as Enrique, though. He's pretty goddamn good.
No.
No, dude,
Our
he's solid.
boy.
Yeah, he's sick, dude.
Yeah, I was hitting it 100
You was
yards
next
that
to
pistol.
us, yeah. Everyone was doing it. All of us hit at 100 yards consistently. Not as
With a
consistent
9mm pistol.
as Enrique once again, but he does this for a living, so it's cool. It's cool.
Yeah, it's all right. We'll let him slide this time.
Listen, if you want
Coming
a
for that
Staccato-
ass, Enrique.
Yeah, if you're law enforcement, former military, active military, we're gonna put him up. Go see my boy Enrique. He'll hook you up. And
Bam.
the next thing you know, you'll be slinging steel and rocking that pistol.
It is an expensive piece of gear, but it's worth it. Like I said, not everybody could ride in a Lamborghini, but thanks to my man Paulie over here hooking you up with Enrique. If you're law enforcement and military, give us a call.
Probably the leather tool.
But think about it like this:
Get a little discount.
if you pay that amount of money for a rifle, why can you not pay that amount of money for your sidearm, for your backup?
No, listen. I'm one of those guys I can do with anything, right?
Yeah.
That's different right there.
Oh, that's another
Listen,
fucking
that's
world.
different, bro.
Hey,
Come on, man. Mama Lee, baby.
Mama Lee, what's
Mama
wrong with
Lee.
you? All right, with that, we're closing this up. Normally, I would say I would make a filthy meat sack reference, but I would throw an F-bomb or 27 in there. But I'm not going to.
Friggin'.
No.
You got
You filthy F-
friggin'. You gotta say friggin' like an Italian. Yeah, friggin'.
Yeah. Meat sacks.
Meat
This is a
sacks.
great episode.
And with that, we're out. You friggin'
filthy. Filthy.
I can't do it.
No,
Okay, right?
no.
No.
We love you, Mama Lee. I'm not
Yeah,
gonna say it.
that's right. We love you, Mama Lee. And we are filthy feeking.
Frickle.
See? It's
Fraggle Rock.
All right.
You
We're out of
filthy-
Fraggle Rock.
No, we're out of Fraggle Rock.